Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for exploding at my brother's fiancé? My younger brother Mark has been engaged to Sarah for 2 years, but I've known her a lot longer than that. We were in the same year at school, and she and her friends made my life hell for years. She was so awful, and I was happy to finish school and never see her again. Mark studied medicine and became a doctor, and I didn't know this, but so did Sarah. Obviously, she's a few years ahead of him, but they ended up working at the same hospital. They started going out, fell in love, etc. My parents have accepted her with open arms. Keep in mind, they know that this is the girl who bullied me for years, who they used to go into the school to complain about, and who cried her way out of it and acted like she was the victim. None of that has even been mentioned. They were perfectly happy to accept her because Mark loves her. Mom has bonded with her, and they're always doing stuff. She spends more time shopping for clothes or shoes or whatever with Sarah than she does doing anything with me. I live 5 minutes away from my parents, and by now, I barely speak to them. Mark and Sarah were meant to marry, but the madness going on meant that they had to postpone it until next year. They came for dinner with my parents yesterday, and I was invited too. At family events, I just avoid her because I don't want a row, but this time, she tried to talk to me. I was stressed from work, so wasn't in the mood. Sarah tried to provoke me. She asked if I'd like to come out shopping with her, saying she could get me something a bit nicer. She used to make fun of my clothes all the time, so there's no way that wasn't a dig. I lost my temper and went mad at her. I said I don't like her and never will, that I won't be coming to her wedding, and that I hope that they have to postpone so that Mark has time to realize what a horrible C she is. She ran straight to Mark crying, saying all the things I'd said. He went mad at me for upsetting her, and my parents took her side, saying I was awful for wishing that on her. I was told to leave and did exactly that. My mom texted me later saying I should apologize. I don't see why I should. I don't like this woman, and I never will. She is still trying to bully me, and she has my brother wrapped around her little finger. I don't have to be nice to her. I don't think I said anything wrong. I just told her what I think in no certain terms. Now let's read the top comments for this post. Not the a-hole. She got you. I highly recommend therapy. A good therapist will help you deal with the situation better in the future. You deserve none of this. I'm sorry you've been put through this. OP, this might feel superfluous given your family is fully aware of the history, but you need a script to explain your point of view to your parents. Something like, you know she has bullied me before, and she's continuing to do that still, and you're asking that I should apologize? You are only pushing me away. You are totally not the a-hole, but she's a lifelong bully, hence better at manipulating you than you can be at defending yourself. Keep your distance and protect yourself. Not the a-hole times 100. She bullied you for years. How can your family just expect you to forget the trauma just because she's engaged to your brother now? That's awful parenting on your folks' part. And these digs are so uncalled for. If she had apologized for her behavior, things could be different. But no, you're not the a-hole, and your folks and Sarah are a-holes. She should first apologize for everything she's put you through, and your parents should try and take your side. The bullying happened 20 years ago, so her parents and her brother see the adult Sarah now, not the child. Opie would probably get the apology if she told her parents, her brother, and Sarah that she wanted one, instead of being quietly furious for a long time and then blowing up a family dinner. Not the a-hole, but I will give it with a slight reminder that this person is a master manipulator. That they will push you, needling you until explode, and then claim that they are the victim. Haven't you noticed this? I'm guessing you are in your 30s. You should know better than to fall for that trap. There are a few ways to counter her behavior. 1. Gray rock. You essentially put them on an information diet, single-word answers, and just keep them always at arm's length. You give them no additional information against you, and most importantly, you don't give them the emotional response that they so desperately want. 2. Cut them out. Just cut them out of your life. Walk away. They are dead to you. 3. Killing them with kindness. Speak generously, act graciously, meet a need, listen to their vapid and inane subjects, and of course, always smile at them. I don't think this will work, but it's worth a shot. Good luck. Now for the second story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to buy my fiancé the ring she wants? Friend said I was cheap and should reconsider marrying my fiancé, so I'm going to ask for some unbiased opinions here. Background. I work as a software engineer, and I grew up upper middle class. Parents make a total of around 300,000. My fiance's family is significantly wealthier, and she grew up, in my opinion, financially irresponsible. Dropping 10,000 a month in clothes is irregular. She is a cardiovascular residency student. I recently proposed to her with the consideration of her picking her own ring. She took me to Tiffany and some other obscure brands to try on rings, and I told her it was way out of my budget, 20,000 plus. She tried to ask if I was willing to split the cost of the ring 50-50. With her wanting big name brands, engagement and wedding ring for us both would cost way over my $500 budget for jewelry. She relented and sent me a link to a ring that cost $1,000, not including tax. Obviously, I said no again. I can't understand what her obsession is with jewels, to be honest. I don't even plan on wearing my wedding ring because I'm not a jewelry guy. When I told my fiancé, she just gave me a yikes, rolled over and went to sleep. A couple days later, our mutual friend from her middle/high school and my university said I'm being too cheap. Their social circle has some expectations of 2-carat diamond ring, so fiancé expected something along those lines. Objecting to a $1,000 ring makes her reconsider marrying me, blah blah blah. I don't think I'll be convinced into spending more, and I told my fiancé so. Confronted her about gossiping about me to our friends. She blew up saying I put her under a lot of pressure by being sensitive to our different finances. Doubting she can have the wedding of her dreams under my budget, and made it clear that I don't dictate how much she can spend, which I don't in the first place. Wants a prenup now and won't speak to me over circles of metal. I don't really question her budgeting outside of this issue, and it's the only time we've fought. I honestly can't believe she has the audacity to air out our financial situation to our mutual friends. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to spend money on trivial jewelries that serves no practicality? Edit. Seems like a controversial post. I will read every comment and take it into consideration. I had no idea rings could cost tens of thousands of dollars or even past a couple hundreds at the most. So her standard shocked me. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Not because of your budget, but because you seem hell-bent on rings being trivial and refuse to understand that it isn't trivial to your partner. Yeah, and not wearing a ring because you're not a jewelry guy? It's not about jewelry, it's about what it represents. He needs to shell out more than $500 unless he really can't afford it and be willing to find some kind of simple ring he is willing to wear. I get the feeling his comments about not wearing a ring himself are almost as much of an issue at the low suggested price of her future ring. You're the a-hole. I normally agree people are crazy with their expectations for weddings, but she moved from a $20,000 expectation for the ring, which doesn't seem unreasonable based on how you describe her social circle and family, to finding one she liked $1,000 and you have no flexibility in $500. Honestly, it sounds like you care more about your budget than your fiancé. This, exactly. She's already compromising and you're not, just because you find it trivial. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. $1,000 isn't that much for a ring, and you don't even want to wear yours? That's totally uncool. Yeah, my engagement ring was a costume job and like 3,000 Australian dollars. I think it was around 1,800 US dollars. I'm still embarrassed about how much it cost, especially since I was super against an expensive ring. Then again, not only will I be wearing it every day for the rest of my life, but it's also absolutely freaking gorgeous. I've had it nearly 2 years and I still catch myself just staring at it. So pretty. Now let's read OP's little edit. Edit 2. I thoroughly read through all your comments last night and I am the a-hole. I will discuss finance with her the next upcoming days and see what I can do. Now for the last story, my 25 female cousin, 26 female, resents me for not having an arranged marriage and blames me for hers. Almost all the marriages in my family have been arranged marriages. My mom's marriage to my bio dad was an arranged marriage, but it ended up in a messy divorce, and him completely abandoning us before I was even born. My mom had a love marriage the second time, despite the disapproval of her family, and has been much happier with my stepdad than she probably would have ever been with my bio dad. Because of this, my mom has always been very adamant that she would not try to force us, my siblings and I, into arranged marriages despite what the rest of our family thought. I've been with my fiancé, 26 male, for 3 years now. We got engaged 2 months ago. He's met my parents and siblings, but as far as the majority of my extended family were concerned, I was single until 2 months ago. Early last year, my fiancé dropped me off home after work one day, and my uncle was there. My uncle is the oldest sibling my mom has, so is seen as the head of the family. That is, he thinks he has a say in what the rest of us do. It was obvious my uncle was pissed, and he ended up grilling my fiancé, and I assume he met his standards. A lot of arranged marriages are about what both families can gain from one another. Example, wealth, influence, etc. So he told my mom to get us married quickly. He wanted to make it look like we had an arranged marriage before the rest of our family found out. My mom ignored him and told us to keep dating if it's what we wanted. Over the past year, he's mentioned me getting married to my mom every single time he's spoken to her. Apparently, my uncle assumed just because he'd given the order that we were going to get married soon. He told my cousin, his daughter, that I had agreed to an arranged marriage, and because I had and she was older, she should agree to the match he'd found her. My cousin never mentioned this to me, but she did agree to marry the man my uncle found for her. They got married late last year. They haven't had a good marriage, and my cousin is very unhappy. Her husband is incredibly controlling and hardly ever lets her go anywhere without him or a member of his family. Last week, she was over at my house when my fiancé came over to drop some of the clothes I left at his place over. When I told my family about my engagement, they all assumed it was an arranged marriage, and I didn't bother clarifying because it really isn't anyone's business. You don't tend to do sleepovers if you're having an arranged marriage, so my cousin knew immediately it wasn't what she assumed. She started asking me questions about my relationship, and I answered honestly. She got really angry at me and kept demanding to know why I didn't tell her about him. The thing is, I'm very close to this cousin, but I know how our family is about dating, and I didn't want my male cousins trying to strong-arm my fiancé. They've jokingly threatened this before. She pretty much blamed me for her arranged marriage and said she only agreed because she thought I was going to have one too, and if I had told her I had a boyfriend, she would have had the courage to stand up to her family. She hasn't spoken to me since. I do feel bad for her. I know how unhappy she is, but if she had mentioned what my uncle told her earlier, I would have clarified. I don't want this to be the end of our relationship, but I don't know what I can do to fix this. Please help. Now for the comments. Unfortunately, if she continues to blame you for this, there is not very much you can do. You can try to explain to her that if she had told you she was only going through with it because you also are having an arranged marriage, then you would have straightened her out. You also might want to tell her to talk to your mom. She might help your cousin find the strength to get a divorce. Your cousin needs to take responsibility for her own decisions. It's not your fault she didn't stand up for herself. Yes, that's not Opie's fault if the uncle lied to everyone because it fits the narrative he wanted to happen. The cousin also doesn't have to be miserable all her life. It's not too late for her to stand up for herself and get a divorce. Sadly, if she still resents Opie for that even after reorganizing her life, if it ever happens, like you said, not much can be done. She should be blaming her father. He's the villain here. Explain that to her. Not that it will make her life any more pleasant. She hates the situation and blames Opie because it's more comfortable. She made a decision to go through with it. In the short term, blaming others is more comfortable, which is why it keeps happening. Your uncle lied to your cousin, and somehow it's your fault? For most people, it's easier to be upset at a peer than at a superior. It may also be anger, coming out, and denial. It may take her time to see and accept it was her father. I hope she comes to light, but it's going to hit hard. She trusted him, she got screwed, and now she finds out it was a ruse. How heartbreaking. I think you are right. The missing details are so much easier to process and be mad at right now. And those are the stories for this video, guys. As always, leave a comment below and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.